you've got about 50 million articles and social media posts being produced per year, and 76% of those, over 3/4, are with a doom message, because dystopias sell papers effectively. What we need is a 50-50. We need a 50, this is happening, hottest year on record, plus here's the solutions, here's the utopia, here's the vision of the future, and that's the way out. I'm Matthew Phillips, and I am a climate campaigner. I lead a project called Groundswell, which is nestled within an organization called Global Optimism. And so what we're trying to do is put optimism back into the climate conversation by precipitating a literal groundswell of like optimism from all kinds of players. So we work with health and faith and civil society and business leaders, you name it, trying to build that kind of positive surround sound to this epic global problem that is climate change.
What role does optimism have in getting people on board and engaged in the direction that we so desperately need to go?
We need it, right? Like, optimism is, unfortunately, within the climate movement, sometimes in short supply. We are deep in an emergency. This has been the year of the global stocktake. Literally, when we sort of get that health check and our doctor says, you are doing really badly in terms of your health, and that the world is way off track towards meeting its climate goals at the moment. And the problem is, if we keep telling ourselves we're doing badly, keep failing that health check, it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so our hypothesis is actually you need to couple that with a bit of optimism that will breed its own kind of contagion and hopefully take us into the transition that we need by 2030 to cut emissions in half. So we feel like optimism begets momentum.
How do you balance realism and optimism? Because, sometimes us optimists are accused by being naive. How do you balance that realism and optimism?
I think it's a really delicate balancing of the scales. Actually, in order to have an optimistic mindset and an optimistic narrative, you need to also have a reality check. You need to have an urgency. You're not ignoring that, but actually you're using that as your point of indignation and of courage that you actually want to go and do something about it, that you're not going to slip into despair, but you're rather going to kind of use that as your incentive to rise up. If you just have optimism, like you just described, then it's just too like Pollyanna-ish. It's too like, oh, this is going to be fine, we're up in the clouds, and it's not rooted actually in the need. So the need is from the emergency, and then we need to bring in this kind of can-do spirit to that. They are like in perfect symbiosis.
And so what's the best way to nurture that optimism that we so need?
There's lots of different ways you can do it. I think my favorite is what I'm going to describe as the FOMO effect, which is the fear of missing out. And so if you have one change maker within business, or you have one change maker within the investor community that is willing to like kind of put their head above the parapet and say, we're going for gold in terms of it, like kind of driving towards climate targets, you'll find that their mate next door in business or in the investor community will go, oh, I want a piece of that too. Otherwise I get this fear of missing out. So what you need to encourage, I think, is a race to the top of optimism. Now, clearly you don't just want momentum. You don't just want everyone saying they're doing stuff and not actually enacting it or implementing it. But I think, again, that's a balance between momentum and ensuring that these people are doing it.
What role can storytelling have in creating and amplifying that sense of optimism?
Storytelling is everything. Like, we have complicated the climate challenge out of all bounds. And in so doing, we've depersonalized it. We've decoupled climate change from our very selves, because we talk about IPCCs and UNFCCCs, and we talk about 1.5 targets. And these are abstract terms to most ordinary people. What people engage with is the parables that they've been growing up with. So I think it's really about how we take the challenge we're facing and we put it into stories that actually we've grown up with since time began, and that will actually allow us to connect with ourselves, with nature, and with the world around us. And that's when we'll have that brilliant connection between people and the global climate challenge.